The Bible. You guys have to forgive that I give this to you as it goes. There's so many different little pieces of the puzzle that the only thing I can do to you is give them to you as they come up in my mind, and you have to put them together for yourself. That's what we mean when we talk about speculative masonry. I'm going to give you tools, and you're going to apply them as you see fit in your own practice as being an architect for the things that are visible or invisible around you, however you choose to apply this stuff. So one thing to talk about when you're discussing the Bible is the Apostle Paul, or St. Paul. Um, there's a good portion of the New Testament books between the Gospels and in the book of St. Jude, in the book of St. John, the letter of St. John. Those letters, they're all called the letters, but a good portion of the letters are written by St. Paul. St. Paul is an interesting person because he's a Roman citizen. He's been educated to that effect. He's been educated a lot like you and I have in our in here in America in the public school system. And so just like me, Paul's got a way with words. But one of the things that I want to touch on with Paul is one of his is some of his happenings in the book of Acts. Now the book of Acts is allegedly written by a girl. They say it's written by a girl, the same girl that wrote Luke. And the reason they blame this person in Luke for being a woman is because they describe birth pains and they describe osteoarthritis in women. There's a bunch of things in there that hint around that possibly the person that drafted the book of Luke and the book of Acts was a female. But that's neither here nor there. What I'm speaking about is in the book of Acts. There's a part where Paul is addressing the church in Ephesus, and he plays on something they've already got going on. They have a temple called the Temple of the Unknown God, and that's what something they used to have back in the day in case people would miss a god. They had this god. They had this temple for the unknown God because they didn't want to offend any of the gods, even if they didn't know their name. So Paul tries to play off of that. He says, "Hey, you guys." You guys are already worshiping the true God because you're worshiping in the form of the unknown God. And as soon as they said that, he kind of sent them into like a panic because if this is the God that goes to the unknown God, then that means we've missed yet another unknown God, and we're gonna get fucked up for not having the appropriate number of temples now. And so it kind of backfired on him. And if you look at his letters or the way that he behaves in the chronology of the Bible, if you look at the way he behaves after the incident in Ephesus, he only has a couple of converts in Ephesus, as opposed to like thousands on Pentecost, but after that you see him really whittle down and simplify his his theology to just teaching about Christ and Christ crucified, and maybe not getting so complicated with it when it doesn't need to be that way. Um, Anyways, but Paul, one of the things that I want to point out is that when he's talking to the church in Ephesus, is that he uses a word that means religious. That we translate it as religious in our in our New Revised Standards and in the New King James versions. We say this word is religious. He says when he's talking about the temple of the unknown God, he tells people in Ephesus, he says, "I see you are very religious." And I just want to point out that if you look at the interlinear translation of the Greek New Testament, which is what language the letters of St. Paul are written in, they're written in Fisherman's Greek, which is only has about 4,000 words in it. And I want you to keep in mind that English is pushing 200,000 words right now. So there's definitely some places in there where Greek words can mean the same thing. They can mean the opposite things depending on the context. And you really have to be a wordsmith to turn it into an English book. You know what I mean? And that just leads into the deceptiveness of studying things outside of its original language. You have to recognize that maybe the Muslims have the right idea by keeping their doctrine in one language so that there's less room for messing things up by interpretation. Anyway, I'm digressing because I really just wanted to tell you about Paul and where he's coming from and about his letters. But when he uses the word religious, when you look in the interlinear New Testament translation of the Greek, it comes back as meaning demon fearing. So I just want to point out that anybody that knows anything about the Creator knows that he's not necessarily trying to teach you things out of fear. Like he doesn't want you to do good so that because you're scared of hell. He wants you to do good because it's the right thing to do. People that go to hell, I've always been taught, are people that have accepted evil as their way of life. And many of my friends are far from that. I mean, we might fall, we might not do stuff right, but we are definitely on the good side of the totem pole. So anyways, much respect to everyone out there. I'm going to get back at you in a little bit. I'm going to try to come up with some supper. I hope things are going good for you this evening. Sorry for talking too much.